This is why you're trash at third partying and always die. Third partying is an art form that not many people have locked down. It requires you to come and kill 1 to 2 opponents, potentially back to back in a structure that isn't yours. So what's the trick to doing it successfully every time? And if you're new here, please invest in the channel. We got over 2,000 subscribers in the past month, so thank you so much. And if you're looking at all the Marvel skins in the battle pass, please use code reidtheninja or another small creators code to help this community. But reason number 1 that you keep dying or losing too much health while third partying is that you're diving in too fast. And you probably subconsciously know this, but yes, that is a big reason. I mean, think about it. 2 parties have been fighting each other back and forth and have made some big structure, and you're jumping into this fight with almost 0 builds placed down. It's like that German guy with funny mustache pushing into Russia in the dead of winter. Bro had no ground to stand on. So no, that is not your territory. And same thing if you're pushing too deep into a third party fight. That is not your ground to stand on, so take it slow. Of course though, I don't want to discourage you from taking third party fights, since statistically these are the easiest enemies to eliminate. But you just have to do it smart. So what does that look like? I think the biggest misconception you have to get on top of is assuming the enemy is weak just because they're fighting. Many of you probably think this way. You hear shots and assume that both parties are likely trading shots and you'll be the cleanup crew. And when that is true, it's beautiful. You prey on the weak and feel like a scumbag janitor cleaning up. And I mean, not like the scumbag janitors that were at my school that literally preyed on little boys and girls, but you get what I mean. Because when you accurately predict that they're both weak, it's 2 very easy kills. But this most of the time is a trap, like marriage. If you fall into that mindset too often that both parties are going to be weak, you will be surprised. Because it's not unlikely that a fight can last a long time and one person can still be fully healthy, or in a nightmare scenario that both are still healthy. So do your due diligence and figure out if they are actually low health. And many of you are probably wondering, how can I do that without giving away my location and element of surprise? And to that I'd say, stop thinking like that. You want to get better and engage in more fights, right? You want to increase your skill level and come out with more kills, right? So stop being a little puss and just take a few pot shots at them. What you're gonna figure out is if they're weak or not and if you should engage. You'll hit them for either white or blue health, and then you can make your decision. So screw the element of surprise. Just shoot at them so you know where you're standing. And I'm sure a lot of you out there are afraid that the enemy will then turn their attention to you and wipe you out before you even have a chance to react, because there are simply sweatier players out there that will do that. But being in a third party situation puts you in a unique spot that you are not their main focus or top priority. Like, in other fights, I get it. You'd rather bush camp instead of taking that initial shot and possibly getting Booga cranking on you and boxing you like a flopper. But in a third party situation, that isn't even really on the table since you're not their focus. So take your shot and figure it out. Now, of course, if they're both blue health and you figured that out and you're not confident in your skill level yet, then you can easily back away, assuming one doesn't instantly die and then you become the main focus. So then just back away and then you can watch some more of my tutorials to become more confident in your skills. But say you shoot them and they are white health, or you're just gonna send it regardless. Here's what you do now. 1. When approaching them, start building. You're already at a disadvantage since they both have builds down, so at least get a ramp rush going so you have pieces to fall back to and so you don't get shot out. Then pressure them, but be wary. The biggest mistake I see players doing is rushing in headfirst to stop the enemy from getting shields or health off. Then they get reckless. They start swinging with their pickaxe and get edited dunked on. So just be careful, but not passive. You want to learn how to apply pressure in a smart way. Swing at a bunch of different walls so the angle is hard to predict, make them get nervous and have their map out instead of shields, spray with your SMG and slide while reloading to keep that momentum and not let them box too far away, and finally bait them with your pickaxe. I still personally struggle with the idea that I need to kill them via my own skill too. So I always try and phase into their box or wall take, but really the more appropriate way to kill these players is to just capitalize on their edits and mistakes. When you're pushing someone who's weak and they know that you know they're weak, the enemy will get frantic and try to get return damage with riskier edits. So don't get too far ahead of yourself and just wait for them to do that. And I know it's annoying since you're going to be spending hundreds of mats to keep up with them and you feel like someone on 1 HP isn't deserving of using all your mats, so you would rather just phase in, but usually that's because you're getting antsy and will make a dumb move and possibly die. And if that sounds accurate, comment if it does, because I used to think that way for a while. up. But if you'd rather just take it slow, maybe even let them get a mini or two off and just focus on keeping your builds and protection up, you will eventually find that window of opportunity and shoot them and kill them. And I am gonna say this just in case, but I again wouldn't recommend forcing a phase play unless you're really confident that you can do it like 90% of the time, or if the enemy is just not moving from their box. Because then it could be valid if your pressure isn't working and you're on high ping and can't get a wall take, but in most cases, I'd rather just wait for my window of opportunity. And that's another thing, which I'll tell you about right now, but people will get hit for damage and then take it way too seriously, and here's what I mean by that. But if you're enjoying so far, please drop a like and invest in the channel for more tutorials, competitive news, and tournament walkthroughs. But what I mean by that is if you get hit for damage from your enemy, you don't need to box up and heal. Just keep the pressure on them. Third partying is a game of outlasting your two opponents. If you know their white health from your earlier tags, then you have the privilege to trade damage and chip away at them. Think about it this way. If you were in the enemy position and you only had 80 HP or something like that, and then you need to go for some counter damage and you actually get a big shot on your enemy. Say you crack them for 100 damage, you get all their shield off. But in that process, you take 30 more HP and damage return. Although you still technically won that peak, you're still in way more of a dire situation. Then tack on the external pressure of a typical third-party fight having more than one enemy, maybe two walls are being pressured, or there's just zone pressure, then this is a really scary spot to be in. So yes, on the other side of that, being the aggressor, you now have the privilege to chip away and outlast. Even if you get hit big for like 100 damage, but you know the other person is white health, you're still in the advantage. That enemy you got down to 30 white health from the initial 80 or whatever it was, say you're in mid game around zone 7, that's 5 damage per second while in storm. So if you can last him out until zone starts pressuring him, then he can only last 6 seconds in storm, so you can wait him out. And that's what I'm saying, keep the pressure. Don't feel the need to heal up as much, because that's when you give him time to heal as well, or just time to escape. And the last thing I want to say is you don't need to treat it as a 1v2 every time. The good thing about third partying is you can wait till someone dies and then swoop in to clean up the remaining individual for a free kill. But third partying recently has sort of become this idea that you need to wedge yourself in the middle of the fight, almost as if you are the one getting third partied by the other two guys. In this circumstance, both of them are alive and you're actively trying to get both of these kills. And this switch sort of happened in most people's brains once you start getting obsessed with hitting a certain kill count, whether that's 10, 15, 20, 30, etc. And obviously if you're going for a 20 or 30 bomb, you really have no choice. But if you're just trying to rank up and play consistent, wait for the death of one of them and then push the remaining individual. That way you'll stop dying and taking too much damage. And again, if you're messing with the content, please invest in the channel before 25k and use code reidtheninja or just another small creator's code to help out this little growing Fortnite community. And if you haven't seen the breakdown of Peterbot's global LAN event, then click this video right here. I walked through all of the highlights in each one of his games and explained to you what he was most likely thinking and the reasons why he decided to do what he did. He of course got first place by a pretty wide margin, and it was one of the most impressive and dominant games we've seen in a long time. Thank you so much for watching, and on that note, I am signing off.